Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay.
Oh, this is already being recorded. Shall we start? All right, let's get started. I have a issue to highlight. I don't want to sit here and spend 2 hours talking about this. I just want to bring this to everyone's attention. My goal with this issue was to try to start looking into some of the work that we should probably try to attempt to prioritize for the next quarter. And I've been looking at some of the key aspects that are kind of important to what we should be focusing our efforts on. So there's been a lot of talk in the past about blue-green deployments and enabling the capability to have experimental deployments. There's going to be talk at some point in time of betterizing our capability for performing rollbacks. So I think all of these kind of play a role, and my goal here was to attempt to gather all the issues that play a role into enabling us to do better at all of those aspects currently. So I gathered a list of 3 issues. They're listed underneath the key issues section of that issue. I'm looking for some general guidance and some opinions from everyone else in here, just on what you all think. Is there an aspect of our system that I missed when talking about this or thinking about this as a overall? And then maybe we could try to figure out what we want to do for Q2. I think that's all I really wanted to chat about. Michele, unless you have anything else you wanted to highlight about this, we can move on to the next item.
No, I think actually I would prefer to have everybody giving a read, especially also because it's also linked to other build points around the entire end-to-end effort. So if everyone can take some time actually and put some brain power there and see where opportunities are and which kind of a problem we are solving and everything, and we can discuss it back actually in a couple of weeks. I would like to see it back in a couple of weeks where everybody is build a bit of brain power over there. I think I would prefer to do something like that than discussing it now and everybody is just like following instead of taking some time to think about that. So said that, Ruben, next point is yours.
So I was wondering if we can somehow ignore all. So originally I was thinking we can ignore all weekends. Am I stuck? Oh, I think it's Michele that's stuck. Okay, so I was saying I was wondering whether we can ignore weekends, but the next iteration of that would be, can we ignore all changelog periods? So to give some background, we do have a changelog project that gives us a Docker container which can be used, which can be executed to figure out whether a particular timestamp is within a changelog period. So usually it's used to figure out whether the current time is within the changelog. But I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I think we discussed that already, right? So I told you that I don't have a solution now, and it's probably a good idea to exclude the weekends and the moments where we are not deploying. But I think that it might be not efficient, but we might want to add. So like the ultimate goal is to
it's for observability, obviously, right? So like we don't want to have broken data and broken SLOs if we haven't deployed anything on weekend. But I think that can be done easily with rake tasks that we already have, and you can just, when you are execute the rake task, you determine if environment is locked, if it's weekend or not, and then you just set the kind of Boolean value locked true or false, and then sort filter everything that it's not locked. That's my kind of like dumb idea to make
This is
it
the
working.
lead time metric, right? Like this is
Yeah.
tracking each merge request. So like we're looking at the time from when the merge request was merged to the first deploy that probably occurred on a Monday. So we can't look at the PCL for that information. Like that's not helpful to us. We need to try to figure out between what happened between the time the merge request was merged, which is probably Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, to our first deploy, which was probably APEC. When does Graham start? Like 11 a.m. probably, because there's a period of time which he's still blocked in his early Monday mornings still. I'm not actually sure how you solve this. Like, I feel like we need special logic that runs on, say, Sunday that says, hey, this merge request may have been merged on Friday, but we need to rewrite some information about this merge request in some way, shape, or form.
Okay, so I had one idea. Just hear me out. Tell me if it makes sense. So currently the changelog executable, the one that's available in the changelog project, it gives you only the ability to check whether a particular timestamp is within the changelog. So maybe we could modify it to say you give it an input of a particular time range, and the changelog project gives you back within that time range which time ranges were blocked for deployments. So say, we have an MR, we know the merge time, we know the deploy time. We ask the changelog project within this time range, which periods were blocked. So the changelog project gives us back that. And then in Ruby, you can exclude those times while calculating the duration.
But so we need to recalculate something or not? No, you calculate only the moment you deploy, right?
I'm talking about the calculation of the lead time metric. So right now,
Yes.
all we do is, we just subtract the two, the deployment time from the merge time. Sorry, I didn't understand the question, I think.
No, it's okay. You asked that.
You're sorry. You're talking about when the first time the metric gets created, we're going to calculate it, right?
The metric gets created once, yeah. So
Yeah.
when we calculate the lead time for a particular MR, we can ask for the changelog periods and we can exclude them. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, I think that's a good starting point. Like, I think it can get a bit more like obviously sophisticated, but I think that's the main like pain point that causes that spike right now, right? The weekends and the holidays. So
yeah,
I like this as an idea. I think we just need to be aware that the data that we get as a result is not going to be 100% accurate, because there's going to be other reasons why we don't deploy outside of a PCL. And since that's the data you're checking, we're kind of missing some of the granularity of some of the other reasons that prevent us from deploying. Maybe there's an incident that occurred early Monday morning. So then, yes, we modified the data to include the PCL, but now you're missing a couple of hours because of an incident, which that is legitimate because that would drive up that value like it's supposed to. But there's other reasons. So I just want to make sure that we understand that as when we're thinking about that data.
But in general, if you think about this in a kind of long term, right? I have a feeling that we are trying to kind of trick ourselves, and instead of working on things like continuous delivery and reducing the time of deployments and removing, like the manual steps for deployments and manual approvals and all the stuff, we just say like, okay, we didn't do that. Let's just exclude this thing, right? But like in long term, I would, if I created the MR on Friday evening, I expect this MR to hit production on Friday evening.
I think
Eh.
you're conflating multiple issues here. So yeah, manual steps, certainly they can and should be excluded. But even if a deployment pipeline is completely automatic from start to finish, well, we only have one manual step now, but say it's not there. I don't think we are going to have deployments in the weekend when there's no one around to, catch an issue, fix an issue. So I don't think we are hiding any problem here. We are just
But
excluding
there
periods
are
when
always people who available during the weekend to catch the issues. They called reliability team and on-call people. So,
But they don't deploy anything new.
well, they don't deploy, but they can escalate to us.
Or
theoretically.
Yes,
rather, or rather, I think the point of that system would be that we don't get escalated because everything is deployed automatically. So all that SRE needs to do when they get paged and they want to roll back something, they just merge that. And then there would already be a pipeline that gets picked up automatically and be deployed to production, even on the weekends, to mitigate that without needing our help, needing our assistance to promote it, right? I think that's kind of like the ideal state that we want to go to. Like this isn't to like promote people working on the weekend and stuff. It's just that continuous deployment state that if that's the end goal that we want to get to, then this is how it's going to end up. It won't need us in that promote step either. People are just going to merge it and then it's going to go to prod no matter what day it is, except for PCL, obviously, because that's obviously for a reason. But I do agree that if we're aligned on that as an end goal, then that is where we want to end up in.
I just
Let
have
me-
sorry, like last word. I just have a little concern is like if we start excluding those times and we start, change our mindset that this is kind of normal and that's how we operate, we might not progress on this. This is the only thing that I'm worrying about. Because from my point, the end goal would be the same as Jenny just said. Like, who cares who promote? It should be just promoted because we're confident enough that this MR is good enough to hit production.
Let me try to put it another way. So PCLs are periods when the company has decided that we are not deploying for whatever reasons. Those periods might change in the future. Okay. So now when we calculate our lead time metric and we use that, to check whether we are exceeding SLOs or anything, we cannot consider periods when the company has decided that we don't deploy. We cannot consider those periods as, adding to the SLO, right? So if we exclude the PCL and say 6 months down the line, we start deploying on the weekends, which means the weekend is no longer a PCL. That time will start getting added to the SLO automatically because, you're using a single source of truth for PCLs. So I think even if we do this, it won't stop progression because, you're not you won't continue ignoring that period even when you start deploying in that period, if that makes sense. So like even when we start deploying in the weekend, you're not going to ignore that time if say one weekend you suddenly don't deploy.
Yeah, and here is the question: do we consider weekends as PCL now or not?
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like in that case, then it's regardless of whether or not weekends are on PCL, and that's on the discretion of the company and what we want to do in the long term. But I do see the value in like this whole effort of removing the changelog time from calculating our lead time. Just for this, even for the sake of just the regular like non-weekend PCL, which is a PCL, but yeah.
Yeah, this will also help for like the Christmas week and stuff when we
Mhm.
don't do deployments.
Can we generate both calculation for those MRs that are affected by PCL and kind of add them both to the dashboard?
I
So
was wondering the same. Like one
So let's
metric
say-
is the
Mm.
actual time, one metric is the time with PCL in the calculation.
Exactly.
I was wondering the same.
and exactly, that would be really great, because then we could actually in those days we could actually plot both and see actually which is the actual one, which is actually the real one, or allow me the different explanation of the word. That would be actually pretty nice add-on, but I mean, that's just an idea.
In terms of generating the metrics, we can just do two metrics at the same time, right? One that does subtract and one that's just the whole thing as we do it now.
That's gonna double the metrics, right? So
Yeah,
maybe you can
just for
just
the lead
add
time.
maybe you can just add the label with the time without PCL instead of yet another metric.
Oh yeah, it could
Oh,
be
we have-
another label.
Are we having problem to add because it's going to be double the metrics for everything, right? Not only for the weekend ones, I guess.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, labels are
and
a
it's
good
probably
idea.
not very important. Like we really don't have that many metrics, honestly. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on that.
In terms of implementation, one problem is that you need to modify that changelog project, which I don't think any of us has modified. Maybe some really old members like Myra or John. But maybe we can sort of do it iteratively. So we can start by excluding just the weekends. And then once we've modified the changelog project, we can ignore all changelog periods.
Oh, sorry, Ruben. That's a good idea, but why do we need to modify the changelog project? I thought we are just pulling from there, no? The data?
Yeah, so that's what I thought. The changelog project provides an API, but I think it only provides like executable in a Docker container. So we'll need to actually modify that executable to give us the functionality we need.
Wait, does CI not have a
Executable.
function to just pull files from a repo?
Pull files and then calculate the changelog time periods ourselves. That
Yeah.
Yeah, like the
kind of
YAML file
duplicates
you're
the
referring.
functionality.
Hmm?
Maybe that could work.
Yeah, because it's
Do you
just
mean
two
the
date
YAML
times,
file?
right? Yeah, the YAML file, like we literally just want the YAML file, and then in terms of the calculation, it's just two time stamps, right? And then we just do a minus on it.
Mm. The only thing I'm worried about is whether it's duplicating functionality.
But anyways, I think this is a good idea. Maybe we can talk about it more on an issue.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I'll create one.
Perfect. Can you also capture in the issue the various proposals we made today, Ruben, about having maybe, different label for action and real and
Sure.
perfect. My point is yours is more of an open chat, just because soon is OKR season. Actually, this time we are starting pretty early. We are still kind of in the middle of the quarter. But I don't know, this could take 1 minute, it could take like more time. So we don't have to stick to this, but I would like to understand if any one of you has which ideas you might have in mind for OKRs for the next quarter, and could be everything. So feel free to say whatever comes to mind.
I think I'm very I'm very aligned with Skarbek here about blue-green deployments and experimental deployments, etc., etc. So I would think that it would be a good idea to actually experiment with that. And one point here, I see that we might, despite on what reliability is doing, we might go and try to build our own kind of Kubernetes cluster with service mesh, which is going to help us to implement this blue-green deployment capability.
So you are telling me that the specialization of what the direction you want to go is like looking at the routing capabilities within a cluster that are going to allow us to develop blue-green and experimental deployment, right? Okay.
Exactly, yes. And I think this is that's gonna, that will help us with increasing the velocity of our deployments, I think.
How?
We can actually, we can deploy multiple versions, for example, at the same time, and then switch instead of like doing like a full-fledged deployment. You can just like switch from one version to another version on the fly based on the tests or whatever. We can deploy in parallel, for example, like more than one version can be deployed in parallel. And then afterwards we can run the tests on each version. And if it's green, then we just like do the switch. And also, we might also think about creating how it calls review apps, right? And the review apps we can kind of offload the very heavy, some of the part of very heavy QA tests to review apps and run QA tests not on like a super heavy QA tests run not on during the pipeline, and leave with the pipeline leave with like more lightweight or smoke tests, and kind of cut the quality before the merge requests arrive. I think that might also help to increase this lead time. So like when the request is merged, so we are kind of confident that it's good to be deployed. It's kind of doesn't break anything.
I think for sure we need to get there. I'm quite sure that we also need also distribution to be able to build multiple versions and so on. But yeah, for sure it's an enabler to get there.
So yeah, like using like fail fast like method, like not fail during the deployment pipeline, but fail if something wrong, fail before this deployment pipeline actually hits.
Okay, yeah. Other ideas?
I don't know how to make this an OKR, honestly, but I would love to see the internal API work completed at some point.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Can you repeat it, please?
It's horrible story about me and 20 pages document that I haven't completed yet because of other priorities, and I'm so lazy.
Now
There
we've
is
got the API service, but Jarv a couple of years ago wanted to try to implement an internal API service. Same pods, just different deployment. That way internal traffic doesn't have to go all the way in and through our front door over again just to hit the same service that's literally right next door in the same cluster. And this is what Vladimir picked up a few weeks ago.
Got it. Thanks.
Other ideas?
Deploy Giddily faster. Currently, it's, I think, between 45 minutes and an hour, depending on how well the deploy is going and how busy our servers are. And Giddily is one of our unfortunate fleets where it's only increasing in the count of servers that are running. So the length of time that job will run is always going to increase. At one point, I was looking at different strategies that we could apply to the way that Ansible runs that may be able to execute a few servers in parallel. It does that already, but it waits for every single server to return before it moves on to the next step. There are strategies to manage that particular configuration, which I've yet to play with or really dig deep into, but that might be an interesting way we could make it a little bit faster.
Other ideas?
Oh, yeah, for the observability, as we discussed, this quarter, we wanted to have repurpose deployment SLO dashboard. We want to build deployment dashboard per deployment and also jobs dashboard. But for the next quarter, it might make sense to start thinking about some sort of DORA metrics dashboard and going to the next step, next iteration of the observability.
Anything more?
Is there any new information for what used to be called pods, but they were recently renamed? Nothing new? Okay,
Nothing new
never
so
mind.
far.
As far as I remember, by the end of the fiscal year, the goal for the pods would be to actually migrate GitLab.com to run one single pod, implement everything. So I think they're basically working on data segregation now, and by the end of the year, there's going to be one pod, and that's it. And then we should start building the ideas and how we should deploy the whole infrastructure, what is the infrastructure architecture should look like, and et cetera. So, but it's super nice, interesting project, but I think it's not visible in next few quarters.
Anything more?
There was some issues that
Sorry.
we could work on for Kate's workloads, right? I don't remember the specific issues though. Or does that come under observability?
I need some help, Ruben. I don't know. Or is someone?
There's a bunch of stuff in our backlog that's a mixture of like nice to haves and minor improvements that we could try to pluck, but I don't know how we would make that a an OKR. I know there was one that was like project sized that Jenny picked up for a hot second until we determined that this was too big. That specific one was related to around ensuring that when we do a deploy, we don't accidentally sneak any configuration changes and vice versa. That would be a good one to, shove into an OKR somehow.
I'm just wondering what is the timeline for Flux implementation for GitLab as a product, because we eventually we might want to start dogfooding that, and I think it's gonna be super cool because I hate this JSONet. Honestly, I think everyone is.
I think
Wait,
on
sorry.
that we need. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Jenny.
Oh, is that the thing that we're talking about during the sync on Monday? No. Sorry, you said something for GitLab, but I don't think I caught that properly.
Yeah, Flux is a new way, a new official way to do GitOps in GitLab.
Oh, okay, Flux, okay.
Flux,
Yeah.
yes.
Mm.
And yeah, I think it's gonna be super cool to actually using that method to deploy the things.
Yeah, it was not the one on Monday, Jenny. I was just checking back the agenda.
Yeah, no, I was confusing it with the demo that happened on Monday, but the Flux is in beta, but you're asking if when would it like be out of beta, right?
Is it in beta?
It's
I think
in
we
beta
just
right now.
I think, did we do any like product changes to for Flux? Because I thought that we only kind of chosen the technology and we publicly say that we are going to use that, and we recommend our customers to use that. And I think the first iteration would be to document and kind of provide the manual way to install Flux for GitLab. And then it's going to be a lot of efforts to officially support it from GitLab, and then like build visualizations, build dashboards, and etc. There's a lot of job needs to be done from GitLab production team or configure team, whatever it calls. And like for us, it's also very kind of the project that we are looking for.
Okay. If no more ideas are coming up, Jenny, the stage is yours for the demo.
Oh yeah, just before that, is this something that we can maybe like put an issue on? Like I remember that there was some an issue very similar to this, I think before last quarter or the one before that. Maybe we can
An issue about?
consolidate the OKR ideas. I vaguely recall that we had one as we split
Yes.
teams,
You want
right?
to know the ideas? I think we
Yeah.
have an OKR ideas issue is shorter.
Yeah. So I was wondering if we can continue that conversation there.
Yeah, we will open one.
Mhm.
Right now that we are at a bit of an earlier stage than that, so we are actually we are trying to see what comes up and what is important for everybody, and for sure we will have to pick up one of these ideas. I don't think we'll have the capacity to pick two, but we need to see. For sure, everything will go. I will take also this summary here and put in when we open the discussion issue, but I don't think the discussion issue will happen before a couple of weeks from now. And then we continue there. But if keep having some conversation, if you have more ideas, you can always add them on the 101 doc. If you don't have it, add a section on top of the 101 doc and put your ideas there for OKR ideas, and then we continue there.
Sounds good. Okay, demo time. I'm gonna share my screen. Not if you can see my screen. Cool. Yeah, so just briefly wanting to highlight some of upgrades that we made to the release management tool dashboard. It doesn't only have these two tables now. It has this one to increase in deployment pipeline duration due to retry and failure jobs. There is a follow-up story to make this a bit more accurate that we're going to tackle hopefully soon. But yeah, this is all sorted from top to bottom to kind of highlight our biggest pain points of release management toil. I wanted to highlight this one, which is the number of tagged releases by type. It's really cool because we just released, we just tagged our monthly, and I saw this RC go up and then monthly go up. So that was really, really cool. You can interact it with the time duration as well. I don't know, for some reason it takes a bit to load today. It wasn't like that yesterday, but I don't know what really changed. But yeah, one of the things that I wanted to highlight was I think I put it on the demo, right? Yeah, table old versus new. So I put in MR yesterday to basically refactor stuff, but basically I had a problem with these two tables before, where I would do stuff in JSONet. I don't think I have the code pulled up right now, but basically I would go to inspect, and how it would display on Grafana is that it would actually have type table old. And then once you try to edit it, I'm not sure if I can do it here, but if I try to go to edit mode, it will say I think it'll say that here. Yeah, it'll say table migration, migrate to table panel. This panel is deprecated. So yeah, this one is still in table old. I think I haven't looked into how to convert this into table new, but basically what I found out yesterday is as I was working on this number of tag releases by type panel, that why it was converting to table old was because of the styles block. So you'll see it here that yeah, so I changed this actually to null because before it used to be referring to styles. And if I go to this, if I go up here, it refers to a way of basically removing decimal points using mapping type and stuff like that, which is strange because I saw that on the new table JSON format. That's how I managed to get this in the first place. But anyways, so as soon as I stopped using that styles and I changed it to null, and instead of using styles to do this, I started using field config and then doing it through properties there. And then it goes from, this is how it used to be before. If I go to panel JSON, goes from table old, as you can see here, to this is the new one. These are just snapshots. I also rearranged it, but you can see that it's it's no longer type old and it's just table. There isn't anything else to the properties of the table that I made except for the styles. So that's what I've come to a conclusion with, which is very weird. But I think it's just the, yeah, we no longer see the table old. But I think it's kind of the whole, because like we use JSONnet and then it goes to Graphonet, and Graphonet also has like an open PR on their GitHub repo to support the new table, and I think it's some sort of magic that goes on in that side. I haven't looked too much into it, but I just wanted to let y'all know that was happening. Also, what did I want to say? Oh yeah, and then if you have any ideas on more things that we can put on this dashboard, I have some ideas as like for the auto deploy job retries, maybe we can have like some kind of line graph or a bar chart to say like, hey, which ones failed the most for this week? And then kind of having this whole outline of like the top, like the #1 failed job per week in the time duration that we choose. I don't know if that's going to be something that's helpful, because what we do now is like we go into this view week after week and be like, oh hey, QA reliable 7 out of 10 failed the most, and then we have to like check back again the next week to realize like, oh, wasn't 7 out of 10 also the top like retries last week? So trying to kind of facilitate that workflow. Sorry, someone
So
was
you want to bucket them in a solar week, kind of.
Yeah, if week would be helpful. Yeah, or we can do it by
Okay.
day.
I
Up
have
to
a
you.
different. So I would more interested in understanding this to understand if there is a trend.
Yeah.
Especially in the same part, more than seeing the number on the bucket. And what I would probably, Michele, look at, I would probably add go to quality and say, okay, in the last 60 days, your QA reliable job, we had to retry it 35 times, right? Needs to be, this is a starting conversation point with that, and then I keep looking into that. So trends are probably something where I will look at. 2 questions. If I change the time selector on the top right, the range, and I put to 12 months at the end of the year, am I getting reliable results?
As long as these metrics were there for that duration, then yes.
Okay, so in 1 year time, I can look 1 year back, wait some time, and get these numbers out, right?
Yep. Yep.
I just want to understand if we are not like say no, because we are only keeping them for 3 months, and then I'm gonna get surprised at the end of the year when I need to do the yearly review and say, okay, we went from January where we fail like 5 times to June where we only failed 2 times. I just want to be sure that we have a retention that is long enough for those data.
Yeah, do we have a retention plan for Prometheus metrics? Does anyone know?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it gets retained for years, so I don't think that's a problem.
But they go to Thanos for 5 years, right? We are querying stuff from Thanos here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we query Prometheus that fetches from Thanos.
Yeah. Oh
right?
my god, this might break, but you definitely see it for the auto deploy deprecated section. That's why I put that row. Yeah, there you go.
What does it mean, deprecated?
Deprecated means it's the old metric basically that we used.
Okay.
Deprecated is the one without the security label. That's why I put it there. But basically,
help me, Jenny, I don't remember. This.
So where would I find this? Let's see. Made this somewhere.
Actually, auto deploy is never security related, so I wonder if we can just add the 2 up. But it's only a problem for this short time.
Oh, no. I will try to explain this.
Okay.
Tag table. Is it this one? Right, right. It is this one. Yeah. So here, I do a little mapping magic to get that table to fill out like auto deploy deprecated. Right now, how I have these options is there are I concatenate here. I do a concatenation with the package type label and the security label from the metric. Sorry, this whole JSON thing is really hard to read. But oh yeah, from the query, this is the query, and this is the actual metric. It has two labels now because we just implemented the security label. Before it used to have the package type label, which basically was used to track auto deploys, right? So before we used to only have the package type equals auto deploy, and this security label didn't exist. That's what I meant by security label. But basically what I did was, because I was assuming that someone would want to go back in time and look at it, this is how it would look like in our label right now, as in the security part is blank. Now this is the old auto deploy tracking. So that's why I said this is deprecated, but if you want to go back in time, this is how many auto deploy packages got tagged. Now we have the functionality because we introduced the security part of this, that it's like an RC, regular patch, critical security patch, regular security patch, depending on what gets tagged on the label there. So yeah, you can tell how many auto deploy packages we tagged over the last year right now by this. We tagged 360 last year. I mean,
I'm
assuming
expecting them from now on will not get more the deprecated ones. We only did auto deploy once, right?
yes, that was the goal. Yeah, so if I go to last 7 days, we started to get more of the auto deploy and less of the deprecated ones because this just got rolled out over the last 7 days.
And would it make any sense? It's okay. Let's keep it as is. We don't have to do anything, but yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, like if you go last 2 days, you don't see the deprecated ones anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so at the end of the year, we can see how many legal security patch we did, regular security patch, regular patch, and everything.
Yeah, from this week forward, because that's when it got implemented.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other question for Jenny?
Do you think it's easy to combine the two? The deprecated auto deploy and the new auto deploy. Combine, I mean, add the two values, because I think there won't be any overlap between them. So if you add them, it kind of makes like one continuous metric.
I can look into it. Yeah. There's just like a lot of transformation that goes into one little panel. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, as it is now, it's already it's useful.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. That was very nice. Vladimir.
I think we have like we're running out of time, so
yeah.
But I can basically I can show very quick that I have modified the dashboard, deployment metric dashboard. What I've added, since I'm thinking that in the future is going to be like unified dashboard for measure all the deployments. I've added this swim line that, okay, this is kind of deployments. This is the merge request statistic, and I will add more and more stuff there. And I also added this average MR lead time, and it's color coded with our SLO of 12 hours now. And that's it. I think I kind of done with, I satisfied with what I wanted to achieve with this. And then I think the next steps would be to add more metrics and more kind of visualizations to this dashboard. That's it.
So this is for the time frame that you selected, right? So 15 hours is for the last day.
Yes.
Okay. So if I think these. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention, I guess that 15 hours, the average is for that particular deployment.
Yeah,
not for the last day. Yeah.
For that particular deployment.
Yeah,
What do
yeah.
you mean
You
with the particular
choose.
deployment?
Sorry, like you selecting the deployment here.
I didn't see that part. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and this is the all merge requests that
Of that
related to this
deployment.
deployment, and this is the average time of all the merge requests.
Okay, so I'm still thinking that this is extremely useful, but I'm still thinking that someone that doesn't know that, which is the color coding of our deployment SLO that is outside of delivery, is going to look at that. They don't know why this is a red. So if I can have like a small panel that says, I don't know, dark red or threshold 12 hours to become red, whatever it is, I think it's going to be helpful, right? Because we know it. If we send these, I don't know, to Fabian, I would say the boss of Sam, I'm quite sure that we'll have the same question. Okay, why is red? What does it mean red? You know. So if we can add that, I think is a great add-on. But it looks great, Vladimir. It looks.
Sure, I will do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not a priority, but just a thought.
Yeah. Just quick question. Those numbers at the bottom of each bar, those are the MR IDs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it possible to have a link where you can click into them? Because isn't it just concatenate
That's
ID?
what you can exactly do when you click on them. You go to the MR.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, you can just wait. So this is MR ID, and then you click there, and you have MR.
Oh my God. Yeah, I like that. I love that.
Oh. Right?
Great. Thank you, everybody, for the demos. Thank you for the discussion points. And have a nice rest of your day. Speak to you later. Thank you.
You too. Bye.